extremely long lasting. It's zero maintenance. There's no termites. There's no mold. There's no moisture issues. It's bulletproof. It's termite proof. It's tornado proof. It's just, in my opinion, it's the best form of construction.
All right. Welcome to another episode of the Radical Hospitality Podcast. I'm super excited to have this craftsman on today, Brandon Gore. He is doing some really cool things right now in both the hospitality space and in the concrete world. So we're going to have a fun conversation today. Brandon, he's a designer, a maker, a builder. His career spans over 20 years across furniture design, concrete artistry, rammed earth construction. Began his journey crafting furniture that honored material, form, and function, eventually becoming known for his master of concrete and natural building techniques. His deep commitment to grounded, place-driven design led him to rammed earth, where he spent years experimenting with soil, pressure, patterns, create structures to feel timeless and deeply connected to their surroundings. Brandon is now shaping the vision of the Outlier Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. So, man, welcome to the Radical Hospitality Podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, well, appreciate you coming on. I'd love to just kind of get a little bit of your backstory, how you got into the world of concrete and, what that, we'll talk about how that led to your project here in Eureka Springs.
Absolutely. Well, the long short story is mountain biking. I was mountain biking in Phoenix, Arizona, and there was an amazing rammed earth house off the trail. And it turned out to be Eddie Jones' house. I don't know if you've ever heard of Eddie Jones, architect.
Yep.
One of my all-time favorite architects. I love Eddie. And so I saw that house. I was totally in love with it. Never seen rammed earth. Never was really even exposed to that type of modern architecture. I grew up in Northwest Arkansas, so Fay Jones was the modern architect in that area, which is a Frank Lloyd Wright apprentice. And so that style of modern architecture was new to me, and I loved it. And I was at Barnes & Noble. I saw that house on the cover of a local magazine. I read about it, and it was rammed earth, concrete countertops, bamboo floors, all these things. It was all about sustainable building materials. And this was probably in the year 2001 or 2, maybe even 2000, that I came across this. And there was a shift in me. I had kind of been a ship at sea without a rudder. And I was a director of sales for Marriott at the time. And even though I excelled in that position, I knew this was like, I want to do something with my hands. I want to build. I want to, with sales, all you see are numbers on a spreadsheet. That's your accomplishment. And, in hotel operations, a good day is when you come in and the hotel is still there. It didn't burn down overnight. That's a good day. And so you can go years and nothing changes. And I was kind of in that place. And so I read that article and something clicked in me with rammed earth and concrete. And I didn't have at that point construction background or craft background, but I felt that the concrete countertops was something I could probably do. And so I looked up concrete countertop classes. It just so happened there was one class being held in San Francisco at the time. I flew out there, took the class, and the person that ran the class asked me to become their trainer. He was just launching this new product, and he wanted me to go teach people how to do it. And that was my start. And I was when I took that class, that was 2002, and then I launched my company in 2004. Yeah.
I was just when you bumped me here, I was looking through Rick Joy's book.
I love Rick Joy. Yeah.
And that was my introduction to rammed earth was his work. I thought you might have connected with him out there. Similar story. But when I was going through architecture school, I kind of got obsessed with the rammed earth because like cool, like tactile feel for it. And my wife and I, we were in the middle of renovating a little bungalow in downtown Littleton. I was working full time, going to school full time, and we had our first baby, and we thought it'd be an awesome idea to like rip the roof off this house and move into it and start renovating. And we had no money. I thought, well, concrete, countertops, that's got to be cheaper than going and buying quartz countertops.
Yeah, it's going to be easy.
That hard.
Yeah.
So we formed it up, and I remember middle of Denver winter, just being out there, grinding on those countertops, freezing my tail off, just cursing myself. I'll never do this again.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just, it was fun. I mean, we put in some shells and we had some cool concrete countertops when it got done. But deep respect for your work. It's
Thanks.
a lot
Thanks. Well,
harder than what it
yeah.
looked like. Or maybe at least I made it harder than what it
No,
was.
it's hard. It's hard. We have a sticker, a bumper sticker that says concrete is hard. And it's true. It's hard. It's come a long way though, not to make this a concrete podcast, and I actually have a podcast called the Concrete Podcast.
Right on.
And I think we're on episode 160 something now.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Man.
And all we do is talk about concrete. So if you're interested in that, you can go find that and you can listen to thousands of hours of us talking about concrete, but concrete's come a long way. So I'm in my 23rd year of business now. I'm going in my 23rd, 22 years behind me. This is my 23rd year. And the materials have come so far, the techniques come so far, and the end product is phenomenal. So if you ever get the itch to make your own countertops again, reach out and I can get you headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll probably just reach out and have you make is what we'll do.
Sure.
And also maybe some furniture in here. So
Absolutely.
I'm going to share screen because I think we got to capture a couple of these concrete countertops and furniture for the audience here to see what you do.
Cool. Yeah. Furniture is more what I do these days. Countertops, less so. Yeah. So there's some furniture pieces. Post tension, that table there at the top left, that's post tensioned.
Okay. And post tension just means that you put the rebar in after, like a post tension slab, or what is?
No. Well, post tension. So what we do is we run cables, steel cables through a tube so they don't lock to the concrete. And after the concrete's cast and cured, we actually tighten the cables. So we tension them and we put those in tension, and it allows us to do large free span sections. And so that table's 13 feet long. That's in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Beautiful.
But 13 feet, and it's really only about 1 inch thick. That drop edge is just a return edge. But yeah, it's crazy what we can do with concrete now. And even that concrete, that generation, we've now come a lot further since then. So yeah, a lot
So
of
are most of these custom pieces, or do you have like a product line of?
most
furniture?
everything is custom. Yeah. So most everything's custom. That was my old conference table at my studio in Arizona.
Oh, that's cool.
I do have a furniture line called Hard Goods, which is on the same website here, and we have standard items we sell, but 99% of customers that reach out want a custom piece.
Okay.
So they're looking for something to fit a space perfectly, and that's what we do. We focus on ergonomics and proper clearances and then tying it into the space with color and texture. So it's really a custom product, not really a commodity product like a stone slab that's sold and cut and manufactured.
Love it. And there's not many things these days that have that kind of level of craftsmanship to it, where it's a special piece. It's functional, but it's also they're a piece of art. To me, that's something that's worth investing in. Especially in hospitality projects, like you're trying to create these unique spaces that's not the same as Marriott. Like you left
Exactly.
Marriott for a reason, right?
Yeah.
You know, um, so I think that's incredible, beautiful work.
Thanks.
If Are you designing the pieces, or most of the clients come in with like an idea of here's what they want?
It's a mix. It's a mix. In 2004, I started my company, and I said, when I get published in Dwell magazine, I'll have made it. That was the goal I set in my mind. And then in 2005, I did a sink called the Erosion Sink, which was this topographic map sink. And if you scroll back up to the top, the first one I made, keep going, right there, that top middle one, that was Erosion Sink number 1. And that was the one that was published in Dwell. So I made that in 2005, and then Dwell published it. And up until then, I was a fabricator. So people would come to me with a design and say, we want this. And I'd say, well, what if we, and they're like, no. You don't understand. We want you to make this. And I was just a fabricator. After Dwell, I started hearing from architects and designers that say, we have a space, we have, this 13-foot sink, we need something made. What are your thoughts? What are your ideas? And then we'd collaborate on the idea. I'd do sketches and I say, we really like this, but it needs to be ADA. What if we move this here? Whatever. And it became more of a collaborative process. And that's where we're at today. Clients usually come with something they like, and then we craft something to fit the space perfectly that that marries function and design, all together.
So I got to ask you as architect, then, the Dwell magazine, is it worth like pushing the effort and getting in? Do those things actually make a difference? Did it make a difference in your career to get
Dude,
into the magazine, get published?
1000%. But I have love for Dwell, but Dwell sold to Time Warner, I don't know how many years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that. Up until then, they were independent. And it was a very high level curated magazine. And once they got bought by Time Warner, not that it's bad, but it's more corporate now. And so it's shifted. The articles, the level, it's not what it was in the beginning, which of course it can't be because now it's a corporate owned magazine. But when I got published, so to tell a short story on that, it kept bumping me off, bumping me off, bumping me off. They called me to get high res photos. I didn't even know what a high res photo was when they called me. And they said, "Can you send us high res photos?" Absolutely. I had to call the client. "Do you know what a high res photo is?" He's like, "I do." "Do you know a photographer?" "I do." And so I took these and we sent it to them, and they're like, "Well, it's not going to make this issue. It'll make the next issue." And this goes on for about 3 months. I got to the point where I just thought, well, it's not going to make it, whatever. And I went to, again, Barnes & Noble. I was on a date with a girl, and we were going to the movie theater, and we were early, so we walked over to Barnes & Noble just to kill some time. And there was a new issue of Dwell. I had a subscription, but I hadn't received it yet. And there was an issue on the newsstand that was new. And I picked it up, and I flipped, and right where that order card is, the subscription card, was the erosion sink. I was like, "Oh my God, this is my sink." She thought I set it up. She's like, "You knew that was in there." I'm like, "I did not know that was in there." And so that was on a Friday night. On Monday, my website crashed from so many people going to it. Back then, you had to buy bandwidth. I don't know if you remember the early 2000s. So I had to buy bandwidth for my website, and I didn't have enough. And there were so many people visiting my website that it crashed it. And I got, within a month, probably 3 to 5,000 emails, requests for information on the erosion sink. And I didn't know how to cut and paste. I was just a country boy, man. I didn't know anything about nothing. So I was literally hand typing, and I'm not a fast typer, like hand typing, "Dear John, thank you for reaching out." And I probably responded to, a couple hundred out of the thousands. And it was a complete missed opportunity. But it put me on the map. And back then, there's way more concrete companies now, but back then there was probably 5 to 10 in the United States in the early 2000s that did what I did. And it put me on the map, and it was really a, rocket fuel for my company. That had that not happened, I don't know how we'd have the same trajectory that we had. So it was very beneficial. Absolutely.
Bro, you just revealed like your age and your dirtiness all in one package that I totally share. My wife and I would, you know, back when Barnes and Noble was good, go to Barnes and Noble for dates and go to
Yeah.
the art section. It's like, that was before like Pinterest took over the world,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they scaled the art and the architecture section down. It was a tragedy, but
Yeah.
those were the good days.
It was great. Yeah. So go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, that was the beginning of the company, but the rammed earth. So, and that's really what the Outlier is all about, is rammed earth. The rammed earth
To
was
it.
Eddie Jones, and so that starting Gore Design Company was my stepping stone. I understood back then it was a stepping stone to get to the rammed earth, and so this was step one. And then it was several. I can't talk today. Several years later that I actually found my way back to rammed earth and started my company on that in 2012.
So let's hop into Rammed Earth, how that led to the Outlier. Were you doing Rammed Earth for clients before you started working on this project? What was kind of the transition from concrete to how do we get here to your Outlier project?
Yeah, so my now wife, her and I dated in the early 2000s when I was totally in love with Eddie Jones, and I tell everybody about rammed earth and concrete countertops. Oh, this is my life's mission. And so we dated in early 2000s. We broke up. We didn't reconnect until about 2012, and we reconnected. And she asked me, what was going on with the rammed earth? I'm like, I don't know. I'm so busy with concrete. And I kept waiting for just a customer to walk in one day and say, "Hey, will you build me a rammed earth house?" Without knowing that I was interested in rammed earth. And so she said, "Well, why don't you put a website together, put something out there just to let people know you're offering that." And so that's what I did. And so in 2012, I started Earthform, which now we've rebranded that the Rammed Earth Company. Everybody thought Earthform was a landscape company, so we finally got sick of everybody thinking we were landscapers and shifted it. But I started that in 2012, and yeah, we've done a lot of client projects over the last what are we going into 2026, so 14 years now. A lot of client projects, a lot of projects for uh, architects. We did some for Sir David Adjaye art installations. My own house I've done, and then I hired Omar Gandhi Architects out of Halifax, Nova Scotia, to design the Outlier Hotel.
And is this you, the Rammed Earth Company here?
That is, yep, that's me.
Oh, cool, man. So, tell me a little bit about Rammed Earth. Like, what makes it special? What's kind of the process here to do a Rammed Earth project?
Yeah, that's my house right there. That photo.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. Well,
Currently,
Rammed Earth. What's that?
this is the Eureka Springs, where you're at
Yeah.
currently, or Phoenix? Okay.
Well, no, that was a house I built in Eureka Springs. We're in Wichita, Kansas now. We moved here for a school for our girls.
Oh, you're all over
Yeah,
it now.
yeah. Eureka Springs was amazing, but the only downside is it's pretty rural for raising young kids, and so the two things we're concerned about were medical care. We're about an hour away from like a really high level hospital, and then the education. There really wasn't a school there that we were in love with. If you click on that bottom left, go back. Yep, Calc's cabin right there. That one.
Read
You
more.
can see some photos of the house. Yeah, but we moved here to Wichita for the school. But what I love about Rammed Earth is its longevity. For whatever reason, the same thing I love about concrete. For whatever reason, I'm very aware of our mortality and how short our lives are as humans, and how we have a very small window to make something meaningful in our lifetime. And I didn't want to work with things that would degrade. You know, if you build a wood house, there's nothing wrong with a wood house, but if you don't maintain that house, within 5 to 10 years, it's already fallen apart. You know, and in 20 years, if you don't maintain the house, it's going to be caved in. With Rammed Earth, it'll literally last thousands of years without maintenance. There's ancient Indian ruins in the
Yeah.
Sonoran Desert in Phoenix, or right outside of Phoenix in Casa Grande, that are over 1,000 years old, built by Indians, out of Rammed Earth. So it's the oldest form of construction known to man, but it's extremely long lasting. It's zero maintenance. There's no termites. There's no mold. There's no moisture issues. It's bulletproof. It's termite proof. It's tornado proof. The sound quality, until you experience it, you don't even understand what it's like to go into a building with solid walls like that. It's just
Yes.
the acoustics are different, the feeling is different, the humidity is different because the walls absorb and release humidity at an optimal level. So it's not like dry air in a drywall house when you walk in and the air quality is not good. It's just, in my opinion, it's the best form of construction for humans. The problem is in the United States, due to lobbyists in the early 1900s, they lobbied for the lumber industry, and they essentially outlawed anything besides lumber in the early 1900s for building code. Other parts of the world, Australia, Europe, South America, Canada,
So
Rammed
what's the
Earth
code
is common.
problem with Rammed Earth? Like,
What's the what?
what's the code issue with Rammed Earth?
There is no code issue. It's just that they made it to where it wasn't in the code. And so it was the lobbyist corner in the market to sell more lumber. And there's a whole book written about this kind of travesty. Thomas Jefferson was a big advocate for Rammed Earth. He believed that people should be able to build their house with the materials on their land. But the United States, you know, we're kind of driven by money, and code and policies a lot of times aren't necessarily for the best form of construction, but for the kickbacks for the people that keep people elected. And so that's what happened in this country. Now that's shifting gears in Texas, Rammed Earth, Austin, places like that. It's in the building code. Arizona, it's in the building code now. California, it's in the building code. New Mexico, it's in the building code. So it's gaining traction. But in a lot of places in the United States, it's still the building department.
Shakes her head a little bit.
Yeah, they've never heard of it, and it scares
Yeah.
them. And so then
Yeah.
you have to get civil engineers involved, structural engineers involved to ease their minds.
Now, the Rammed Earth is not like just concrete, right? Is it a
No,
different mix that you're putting in
yeah.
here? What's kind of the difference between like a concrete wall and a Rammed Earth wall?
Sure. Well, concrete typically is a much, much higher cement loading, and the material itself is much denser. It has different hydroscopic qualities. It doesn't absorb and release humidity in the same way. If you ever go into a concrete basement, you know what that feeling is like. It's like damp and heavy and dark, and it's not really a place you'd want to live. Rammed earth is made from non-organic soil. So below, it's called subsoil, but below the topsoil is subsoil. And what subsoil is just decomposed stone. Over millions of years, mountains wear down to stone, and that ends up under the topsoil. Topsoil is decomposed organic matter. So that's plants, animals, humans. It's just decomposed organic matter, and things grow in that. But below that level is decomposed stone and clay and silt, and nothing will grow in that. And that's what you build rammed earth out of, because it won't degrade, it won't decompose. And so we take that material and we add a little bit of cement to it, not because it's necessary, but because, again, building departments want peace of mind. And so a structural engineer will want to know that this wall will reach this minimum PSI guaranteed for them to stamp a plan. And so it's called stabilized rammed earth. So we add a little bit of Portland cement to stabilize the rammed earth, to give everybody peace of mind. And so that's what the walls are made of.
And so, like the Anasazis, were they obviously they didn't have cement? Were they just compacting, the soil and water
Exactly.
and form,
And
let it dry?
that's a great example of why it's not 100% necessary. So, Native Americans were building rammed earth without Portland cement. In China, the Great Wall of China is built of rammed earth. Primarily, that wall is made of rammed earth. And again, they didn't have cement, and that wall is standing. It's not that it's necessary. It's just more, again, for, they want to cover their butts. They don't want to have something fail and be held accountable. So they do that. It's called stabilized. They do that just to have insurance that, won't fall over or
The modern technique, do you get a big cement mixer out there, load up the soil, throw a little water, throw just a little bit of cement into it, and pour it just like you would a concrete pour? Or
no, no. So it's much slower. It's a laborious meditation is what it is. It's
okay.
a much, much slower process. So we do use different rammed earth builders have different techniques. We use machinery to mix the material to get a very homogeneous mix. We don't want bands of Portland cement unmixed in the rammed earth mix. But so we use machinery for that. But the mix itself is extremely dry. If you felt it, you'd think it was dry. You wouldn't think there was any water in it. So it
Mm.
feels dry. The water in it is really just to lubricate the particles for maximum compaction. That's all it's there for. The Portland cement will hydrate on its own over time, but the water isn't there for the cement. It's there for particle lubrication. But so we put in layers, typically about 8 to 10 inches, into a formed system, and then we ram it using pneumatic rammers. And so we ram it down, and it compacts by about 50 to 60%. And then we do another layer, and we ram it down, and we do another layer, and we ram it down, and we just keep building the walls up as we go, and running utilities and insulation and forming windows and doors and all that kind of fun stuff as we go.
You go. So you're putting all
But
of your utilities into that wall.
exactly.
So you got to have your electrical and all that plumbing.
Yeah, but it's a slow process. And that's the other downside of rammed earth is it's really only for luxury in the United States. Rammed earth, where you'll see rammed earth, Rick Joy is a great example. Eddie Jones is a great example. If you go out to California, it's only, mansions and wineries that are built out of rammed earth out there, because only the wealthy can afford to pay for that level of time. A concrete wall can go up in a matter of days. A rammed earth wall would take a matter of months to do the same wall. So it's a much different process, but the end result is much different as well. And from my viewpoint, besides all the health aspects of it, because it is a very healthy wall system, the aesthetics of it are what I love.
Yeah. Yeah. And that may make the most sense. Like that's reality in the United States. Like it is absolutely a beautiful piece. And it casts shadow and light and a lot of things. You see many people using this as a portion of the building versus doing the whole building just because of the cost.
That's a smart thing to do. That's a very smart thing to do. So I built the photos there. That's my cabin I built, and I did all rammed earth. I went
Okay.
crazy. I would not recommend that. I'm not going to do it again. So we're going to be building out here. We're looking for property. We have a historic house in downtown Wichita that we love, but we want to get out into the country and have some space. So we're looking for property. But on that project, we're going to do ICF and then rammed earth for key focal points like the fireplace and things like that. That'll be made out of rammed earth, but most of the structure will be made out of ICF.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Well, how are things coming on the Outlier? Where are you at in this project? And are you guys pouring up one layer at a time?
Sure. Well, the outlier, so where we're at, it's where we've been for the last, I don't know, 5, 6 months is I'm still in fundraising.
Okay,
And so we got the design done last year. We got the construction budget put together. We have all the financials done. We did, all that fun stuff. Um, I had a financial guy that I was loosely working with in Northwest Arkansas, and his network just wasn't the right investors for this. So I'm looking for a single investor to come in and buy 50% equity in the project. And the people that he had in his pool were small investors, and it would take 20 to 30 of them to come in and do it. And that's just a headache that I'm not looking to have. So I'm still looking for the right investor, and that's where we're at.
are you entitled and permitted on it yet?
So there's no permits there.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing. I wish it was like that here in Kansas. So the land that we own there is unrestricted land, and so there's no permits required. That being said, we've gone through the state for the well, for the septic. We have all the plans and permits done on that. Those are only things you do have to get permits done on. So all that's secured. Trades that we would be using, we've received all the quotes from them and have all that lined up and timelines. It just really comes down to funding and is finding the right investor, which you've gone through this yourself, so you know how
We
difficult that
just
can
finished it.
be.
It is a
Yeah.
monster effort. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm looking for a
We
strategic
have a
investor.
full pitch deck and pro forma of uh, you know business plan for the project at this point.
Exactly. Yeah. So I have all that stuff. I have a book here.
Is
With
that a book on the Outlier?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is essentially the pitch deck, but it's a book, has all the financials and breakdowns and all the analytics and valuation strategy, blah blah blah. All the fun stuff. So yeah, we put all that together. But it's finding the right for me. I told my wife because she's antsy to get this project going, and Omar Gandhi's antsy to get it going. I understand. But for me, it's about finding the right person. I want a strategic partner. I want somebody, that's more than money. I want somebody that is in the field in some fashion that brings value to the project, that's passionate about the project, that sees the vision, that wants a asset like this in their portfolio. I have a friend in Boise, Idaho. He's a builder. And when we first started this path of fundraising, the financial guy that I hired had come up with a very complex capital stack. So it was a short-term bridge loan. It was traditional financing. It was investors. It was my owner equity in the project, and it had an IRR waterfall structure and all these different trigger points for payouts. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I hated the whole structure. And I was talking to a friend of mine in Boise, and he does a lot of projects with wealthy customers that are looking for essentially tax shelters. And so they will build a chain of coffee shops up there, and they'll do it 50-50. He's the builder. He builds everything. They fund the money. They own it 50-50. But it's a way to have, depreciated income. So they do the bonus depreciation. They do what am I thinking of? The study that you can do to depreciate income. But yeah, so they do all that stuff. And for them, that's the whole purpose. And he does these left and right with wealthy customers. And so I was talking to him, and he said, man, if you're willing to give up 50%, that's definitely the way to go. And I agree, but I'm looking for somebody that doesn't just view this as just a way to park money, but I'm looking for somebody that's passionate about it as I am. So that's kind of the tricky part. So I told my wife, if it takes 6 months, if it takes 6 years, for me, it's no different. It's really about finding the right person and having the right team on the project.
So tell me about the project. Is it set up as they're larger units, right? These are like
Yep.
home type units.
So they're individual cabins. Casita didn't really feel right since we're in the Ozark Mountains, so we're calling them cabins.
Mhm.
But they're freestanding, rammed earth walls. They originally were going to be 3 stories. We've changed it to 2 stories because that bottom, as you can see that right there, essentially that bottom's gone now. That bottom portion was not adding a lot of benefit, but was drastically increasing the cost on these. So we removed that. That was just open to the forest below, and it was kind of a place where we're going to put a gas fire pit and people could sit down there. But
Yeah,
it
cool.
was a
Gotta
lot
get
of money
the
for
treehouse feel.
yeah,
I'll show you our treehouse. So we did this elevated house, and you pay for this space, even though you
yeah,
use it. But people
yeah,
love it. I will tell you, I think uh, it is a cool space. So you're gonna take out the bottom level, bring it down.
yeah. So essentially, it's the same cabin. We just removed that bottom piece, which wasn't bringing a whole lot of bang for the buck, but it was going to increase construction by about 30 to 40%. It was a lot because once you get above a certain height with rammed earth, logistically it just gets very difficult to get the material, to get the rammers, the scaffolding, the formwork. Everything just slows down dramatically. Um,
So
so we removed that.
how many of these cabins are there?
There's 10 of them. 10 of them.
Okay.
Yep.
What's your cost to per cabin at this point?
Well, yeah, we have the full construction breakdown, but the total build cost for me to build it is 2.95 million. So that's my build cost. That's greatly undervalued from what another builder would build it for. Um, but this is where, the owner equity comes in, that we're able to do things that other people can't do, with rammed earth, with steel work, with concrete, that if you hired a company like me to come in and build these items, it would increase the cost dramatically.
It's about
And so
a unit is.
right around there. Yeah. Yep. So,
How about
yeah.
water, sewer, all of that?
Yes.
Do you have
So
water?
everything there is going to be on well. Yeah. So well and then septic. And yeah, the wells there, we drilled a well where my cabin that I built is only about a quarter mile away. The wells there, we were 1,200 feet to the aquifer.
Okay.
So it's a pretty deep well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like what did you get from a market study in terms of uh ADR and rent rates? Like what's the thought here?
Sure.
Did you do it yourself or do you have like
No. I hired a company.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it was the financial person that I was speaking of that has the pool of investors, but they just weren't the right fit for this project. But this is what he does: is financial studies. He puts together real estate deals. He has a lot of projects going in Northwest Arkansas. A very very smart individual. So I discussed this project with him, and I told him where I felt that the ADR would be, and I felt that the uh, NOI would be and all the different metrics. And he's like, man, I don't know. Like, I just think that's way high. And I said, well, just do your own research. Like, don't take my word for it. Do your own research and get back to me. And so he started looking into Eureka Springs, Arkansas. And the rentals there are booked out for some places for 2 to 3 years, solid. The ADR there for those cabins is anywhere between 500 to 600. Some of them are a little bit lower in the 400. Some of them are higher, but that's a pretty common ADR for high end cabins up there. So yeah, and then occupancy rates. We had a neighbor by our cabin that had yurts, and I always, I would see cars going down there all the time. And one day I asked him, "What's your occupancy?" And he said, between 90-95%. And I said, for the season, because I kind of feel like in Eureka Springs the summer is super busy, the whole city's full. He's like, no, for the year. I said, you're 95% for the year? He's like, yeah. He's like, you only have a couple weekends available right now for the whole year. And sure enough, when I got on AirDNA and I started looking, that was a very common thing. Anywhere between 80 to 95% occupancy for the year is common. And so, anyways, when Luke went through all the analytics and looked at comparable properties and looked at properties in other areas around the country, because the problem is we're going to be building something there that doesn't exist. We're going to be an outlier in the area initially. So you start looking at other kind of similar level builds in areas that aren't like on the ocean or overlooking Yosemite, but someplace like in the middle of the country, and looked at their ADRs and looked at their occupancies and found a lot of supporting data to support where we're at. So the ADR that we came in at was 600 ADR, which is going to be on the higher end, but not unreasonable because again, tree houses there are 500 a night on average, a lot of them. So 600 ADR. And then occupancy we modeled at 70%, where again, most of these places are anywhere between 80 to 95.
Yeah, and I think that's all possible. So this is our little tree house that we
Dude,
did.
awesome.
we're up in Indian Hills next to uh, the Denver area, and it we built it for right around that 300 mark. Again, like you pay for the space below,
Yeah,
but you also get that experience and that unique stay out of it. So people love, that feeling of kind of magical being up in the trees. You got the hot tub down below. We're close to Red Rocks, which is kind of a event center. We probably like our first year we were hitting those like post COVID, it was super like just everything was high demand.
sure.
I think we probably grossed like around 100, and then probably in the last couple years that's dropped to like 70, something like. So it's a real like it's hard to stick your finger on these ADRs and occupancies. That blew our expectation away the first year. That was like, double, what we had expected. What it did do, it gave us some like confidence of, hey, we got the one done. Um, you know, it's a very unique stay. We knew what the numbers were on it. Um, and, we also got to see kind of what our drivers were. And so we kind of went from do the one and then we'll multiply that up. And in our mind, so the hotel that we're building, now, which is this 22 unit boutique hotel next to Red Rocks, it's about 10 minutes down the road from us. It was easy enough. Like we got the one done to be able to show, okay, here's what the occupancy's demand was and the feel for, to then go and say, okay, now we're going to do the 22, scale that, occupancy and scale that ADR down a little bit, but, take that model and then roll it up. Uh, might be something to think about,
Absolutely.
with, the Outlier. Beautiful project in a beautiful location. Could you do one, prove it out and then, you know, uh, sequence the other ones?
Yeah, it's possible. The problem is rammed earth. The construction itself requires massive footings. The walls are extremely heavy. So the earthworks are much more in depth than a traditional stick frame build. One of the concepts that Omar presented early on was more of a treehouse vibe. This build site's on a slope and it goes into a valley. And one of his concepts was we did piers. Piers would be way easier. We could do helical piers. We could have done concrete piers, and then essentially we do, a structure to have these cantilevered, very spindly cabins hanging out over the slope. And it was a really cool concept, but there was zero rammed earth in it. And honestly, from a build viewpoint, it would have been a lot easier and a lot more cost effective from a build viewpoint. But what we're wanting to do is build something that will last for a long time, for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. And I felt like that would be a project that, although it would get a lot of attention and we would do well, it would take a lot of upkeep. And again, if you let it go for 5-10 years with zero maintenance, it would probably start collapsing, right? So I wanted to build something that was permanent. And so the other concept it came with was this much more kind of almost like a southwestern. The walls are tapered in. So it has like this very heavy, kind of like a shoulder towards the highway, and then it opens up to the ravine below, the valley below. But it requires massive earthworks. And so my wife kind of same thing. She's like, what if we build one at a time? Rammed earth, when you're building it, it sounds like a machine gun. The rammers are pneumatic. And you can hear it from a mile away. It's like a bassy thump, like boom, 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 boom. And it drives you mad. And so if we built one and we have,
You might get pitchforks
guests
in the
there,
next ones.
we would, everybody would check out within 10 minutes because they're like, we can't stand this. It's just, it's crazy. So we got to build all 10 at once, or we got to build 5 and then shut down for, 6 months to build the other 5. There's no way to build while we have guests. It's just too loud, too disruptive.
Where's the site at?
The site is on the corner of 187 and Highway 62. And so interesting, the Waltons, Tom Walton and Stuart Walton, have been investing hundreds of millions, if not billions. There's no definitive number on how much they've invested into the mountain bike trail systems in Northwest Arkansas, but they've really put Northwest Arkansas on the map for mountain biking. And they were in the process of building the mountain bike trail system in Eureka Springs when this property came up for sale. So this property, I drove by it every day. I thought it was owned by the state. There's nothing on it. It's just forested. And I saw excavators in the woods across the street. And nobody knew what they were doing, but I had a feeling they're building trails because you could see them off in the woods. And I saw a realtor nailing the sign out for sale. And I stopped and took a picture. I called, I mean, literally as they're nailing it, I took a picture and called the number. And the realtor said, it just went on the market today. It was owned in a trust for 76 years. It's never been on the market for the last 76 years. The last person in a trust died. It's now bank owned, and the bank will only accept a full price offer. And we've already received 2 offers this morning below asking price. Just letting you know, if you don't put in asking price, the bank will just automatically reject the offer. So we put in full asking price. We got the property that day. We bought it that day. But we bought it under the hope that the mountain bike trail system was being put in across the street. And sure enough, that's what it was. It was the trail system. And the trail head is directly across the street. So there's 25 miles of single track, but they have a tram system that picks riders up at the bottom of the mountain and brings them up the mountain and drops them off at a trailhead drop off directly across the street from our property, like directly across.
And is this right? Are you neighbors with Thorn Creek Chapel here?
Yeah. So that's the other thing I was going to say is Thorn Crown, Faye Jones project. It's one of the most famous chapels in the United States and definitely the most famous chapel in Arkansas.
One of my favorite architectural projects. I mean, literally in the country. I was talking about this yesterday with a group of, hey, what are some projects that have inspired, awe and wonder?
Exactly. Yeah, it's actually the cover of my my little investor presentation brief. But if you look, let me see.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so Thorn Crown is a 3-minute drive. So we're at the bottom of we're at the top of the mountain. Thorn Crown is at the bottom. You go down, and just as you start to come back up, there's Thorn Crown. We're going to be the closest hotel property to Thorn Crown. But the thing about Thorn Crown that I've always found fascinating is it's a very modern, organic architecture, tons of glass, wood. You're in the forest. It's beautiful. You get married there. They're booked all year long with weddings. You get married there. You leave. Where does your wedding party go? Where do they stay? All the rentals in the area are very nostalgic, vintage.
Cabiny.
It's like very Victorian. Eureka Springs is a very Victorian town. So a lot of green wingback chairs and pink carpet and heavy plush draperies, and it doesn't fit the vibe, right? So a lot of the parties come up there, they get married there, and then they go back to Bentonville or Fayetteville and stay at hipper hotels. So it's been a missed opportunity for really the last 70 years for Eureka Springs to capture that market with these wedding parties. And so kind of our goal with the Outlier is we're the closest hotel to that chapel, but also we're going to be the one that fits that demographic. The people that want to get married at Thorn Crown are the same demographic that will want to book 10 cabins for the wedding party for their wedding.
So how many beds where people can stay then? Like if you got in each unit, how big of a group could you have?
They're all they're all king beds, single king bed.
Single beds.
Yeah, we did 3 floor plans initially, and then we reduced it down to 2, and we had double queen format, and then we had a single king. And the single king had a very open loft. So when you come in, it's 2 stories inside, but the king had a very the floor didn't extend very far into the space. It was full height ceiling there and tons of glazing, and you looked into the forest, and it was a much more dramatic space. Whereas the double queen, the floor extended a lot further, and it really limited the view when you came in. There was not that big wow factor. It was just going to be this, this much lower space and a much lower view. And so I was talking to Omar, and we did a lot of research on it as well. And the demand for kings is far higher than doubles. So we decided let's go all kings on this. So they're all single bed kings, each one. Yep, there you go. And then the other thing is if you go the other direction.
So put me back. Where's your site? Is it
right there? Right where? That's it. Yeah, right there. So that big wooded area you see, that's 3 acres. That's our property.
Yep. And then where would your views be out? Are they
looking straight into that valley there?
Going
south? So that drops down. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So that it's hard to tell at this, but the topography drops off pretty dramatically from the highway down into the valley.
You get a little bit of topo drop, and so you're probably catching some great views.
Yep, yep. And even in the wintertime, it's heavily forested, and you don't. Once you're in there, you don't see anything beyond the forest, and so you don't see any other structures off in the distance or anything. It's just you're in the woods. But if you go the other direction, there's an interesting project that again was a Walton funded project called Opera in the Ozarks, and it's right back down Highway 187. But Opera in the Ozarks, it's been there since the 1950s. It's an opera center where they bring in opera stars from all over the world, and it's kind of their preseason warm up. So they do operas every night, and these are the world's top opera performers from Rome and all these places. They come there and they perform, and they do this every spring. And the structure they had was built again, I want to say in the 1940s or 50s, and it was very outdated and kind of run down. And the Waltons came in and gave them, I don't know how many hundreds of millions of dollars. It was a huge grant. But they ended up building a very modern new opera center. Actually, cantilevers off the side of the mountain. It's all glass and steel. It's massive. There's really not any updated photos of it, but it's out there and it's incredible. This season was the first season where they operated with the new space. But again, when you go by Opera in the Ozarks on any given spring night, it's Porsche 911s, it's Range Rovers, it's those types of people attending that. And when they leave, there's no accommodations that really fit what they're looking for. Unfortunately, a lot of the Airbnbs in Eureka Springs are very rustic cabins, real tree camouflage, lazy boy chairs, deer heads on the wall. I like it. That's cool, but it's missing the mark for a lot of the demographic in the area.
And then you're also just north of the lake here too. We've
Yeah,
actually been looking at Beaver Lake a little bit as a potential, like lake cabin. We've got some friends that are in Bentonville. Um, do you have much access to marinas or things like that to the lake? How far are you?
absolutely. Yeah, so the road, Highway 187, we're at the corner of two highways, Highway 62 and 187. 187 goes straight to the lake. And so from that property, it's about a 7-minute drive to Beaver Lake. Beaver Lake is a 28,000 acre lake. It is massive. Army Corps of Engineers built it. It's a beautiful lake, absolutely beautiful. I took it for granted. I was born in Bentonville. I grew up on a farm there. Beaver Lake, that's where we always went. You don't know what you have until it's gone. Now I live in Kansas. People are like, oh, go to a lake. Dude, out here it's a pond. I'm like, that's not a lake, that's a pond. I'm
Yeah.
used to like a massive lake with clear water and, trout and
Yeah.
streams and yeah, waterfalls and cliff jumping. And it's just beautiful. Beaver Lake is incredible. So yeah, 7 minutes away. And the main park, Beaver Lake Park, is at the dam. And so that's off 187. And we used to take our girls there when they were born. We'd go there every day. And it's just a really great place. And so, yeah, so our proximity, we're 30 seconds away from mountain biking from the trailhead. We're 3 minutes away from Thorn Crown. We're 7 minutes from downtown Eureka Springs, which is it's always been a tourist destination. I mean, it was always built on tourism. And then we're 7 minutes away from Beaver Lake. So we're kind of in this perfect central spot. And we're probably 5 minutes away from Opera in the Ozarks.
Yeah.
We're in this beautiful spot just outside of city limits where we don't have the red tape of the building code and the building restrictions, and we don't have the issues of parking. If you're in Eureka Springs, parking is a nightmare. But if you're outside Eureka Springs like we are, we don't have those issues. So again, guest, if you stay at these really cool Airbnbs in Eureka Springs, it's awesome, but your car is going to get towed. You're not going to be able to find parking. It's just, it's kind of a catastrophe with that because it's just so busy and it's very limited parking there. With us, we're just outside, so we don't have those issues.
Love it. Yeah, I grew up in East Texas, on a lake, and same. Like living on a lake was, like you didn't realize what you had as a kid till you left. I'm in Colorado now, which is its own beauty. Like it's got magnificent mountains, all of that, but it doesn't. We don't have lakes, like not like real lakes, like Arkansas and East Texas. Um, One of my great this was close enough. It was like within a 7-hour drive, that we would come up and vacation, here every now and then. Some of my really great childhood memories were coming and fishing on the White River
Yeah.
with my grandfather, and who passed away this last year. So yeah, it's like sentimental, and it's on my target to come up here, and we're gonna get a fly fishing season, trip in this spring. Um, so I'll
So the White River access for fly fishing is at Beaver Dam. So that's 7 minutes away from our cabin.
Yeah.
So any given, like, in the spring and fall, you can drive over the dam and look down at the White River and you'll see 50 fly fishermen down there fishing.
And dude, I
It's
mean, just
awesome.
best fishing of my life. Like, we'd spend all day on that river and
Yeah.
catch fish all day. And I remember just pulling over on the side of the river, making a fire, eating fresh trout. Like,
Yeah.
phenomenal experience. Very good guides that kind of know like when the catch is. So it's a magical place. It really is.
It is. It's incredible. And the other thing that we have, as far as demand goes, is Bentonville is the home of Walmart. And Walmart has just built this massive campus. I don't know if you've seen renderings of their campus or photos of it because now it's built. It rivals the Apple campus in California. So they built this huge corporate campus that's insane. But one of the things that Walmart does is it requires every vendor that sells to Walmart to staff an office in Bentonville, Arkansas, or Northwest Arkansas, Bentonville, Fayetteville, Rogers. But they have to have a staffed office there. And so all these companies, Campbell's Soup, you name it, every company has an office there. All these companies do corporate retreats. The thing about Eureka Springs, and have you been to Eureka Springs?
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing about Eureka Springs is you're 45 minutes away, but you feel like you're 4 hours away because the topography changes so much. Everything changes from Bentonville to Eureka Springs. You go up into the mountains, everything shifts, the view shift, the terrain shifts. The trees are different up there. We have a lot of pines up there. You don't have those in Bentonville. You feel like you're a million miles away. And so the other thing that we want to focus on, and I have some friends that own boutique properties, is a lot of their customers come from corporate retreats.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a very unique or a very special opportunity here that a lot of hotels wouldn't have just due to proximity to Bentonville, because all these corporations are staffed there. They all do take corporate retreats, and so they're able to do that with us and not have airfare and all the other expenses that would normally go along with going someplace else, going to Austin or going to Denver or going to wherever. It's just a 45-minute drive up the mountain into Eureka Springs, and you're a world away in 45 minutes. So that's another thing that we feel there's an opportunity there that's not largely tapped for that market.
Yeah. And you compare it to areas like Austin and even Denver that we had like huge growth, kind of pre-COVID, and we're all kind of in these little bubbles. Like Bentonville, like, I mean, if you just think about the core of Walmart, like, hey, it's providing affordable food that everybody needs in the country, and it seems to be one of these markets that's like remained stable because of that, and then the growth that they're having there. Like, this is what I keep hearing about this Northwest area, where everybody else, like, we kind of got over the top and over our skis a little bit. So here you got a community that's doing well, it's successful, it's got all the great outdoor space, like the biking, the lake there, Eureka Springs with kind of the cool boutique, town. So, even for us like snobby Coloradans, that we've got all the cool mountains and ski areas and little towns, like this is very appealing what's happening in Northwest Arkansas.
It's a weird economy. The Waltons, when I was a kid, I used to swim with Tom and Stuart. Sam Walton, it was a small town back then. Even though Sam Walton was one of the wealthiest men, he used to come to the local community pool in Bella Vista, Arkansas, and bring his grandkids, who are Tom and Stuart, who are now my age. And we used to all swim together. And Northwest Arkansas has always been a very stable market as far as housing goes. But it has appreciated so much. I couldn't even afford today, if I went back, to live in Bentonville now for just a tract home is $1 million plus for a very low quality tract home. It is appreciated so much, and it hasn't slowed whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So the market there just continues to grow. But the reason is the Waltons, love them or hate them, and I understand both sides of the coin on that. But what I will say is they've been extremely generous with putting a lot of their money into the local economy to build infrastructure, whether that's to bring in chefs and whatever, to put in these really high-end restaurants, coffee shops. Onyx is based there. They invest a lot in architecture. They invest a lot in the trail systems and art. Crystal Bridges is there, which is one of the most incredible museums in the world. They invest so much money. I live in Wichita, Kansas. The Kochs are here, so Koch Industries. It's kind of the antithesis of that. They're I don't know if they're equally as wealthy, but they have more money than they could ever spend, but they put very little money into the local economy here. And so when you look at Wichita, Kansas, and you look at Northwest Arkansas, it's really amazing when people that live there, the wealthy corporations that are based there, when they really put money back into it, how they can drive that economy, because that's what they've done in Northwest Arkansas.
Oh, so you're a good distance from this. This is kind of how
Yeah, in 4.5 hours.
yeah. How often are you getting out there at this point?
Well, last year when we were doing the construction budget, I'd go to out once a week. So it's 4.5 hour drive. I'd leave early. I'd go out there to have meetings, either come back same day, stay the night, come back the next day. I haven't been out there in probably 6 to 8 weeks now. I need to go back. We went for vacation in Branson. I don't know if you've been to Branson. We go there with the kids, but yeah, so it's 4.5 hours.
Kind of
Not
a
a horrible
vacation
drive.
spot for you guys as well. Like, is this where you would come to? Well, you grew up here, but you'd still come to hang out here if you were.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was born in Bentonville, and Eureka Springs was the place you'd go on the weekend. And again, you would just feel like you went so much further away. It was a completely different vibe. And Eureka Springs has gone through a lot of different iterations over the years. It was originally really focused on the springs. I mean, that's the name, the springs. So all these Victorian hotels were built, and they had these medicinal springs in the basements, and people would come to soak in the springs. Ozarka water was originally based in Eureka Springs, and they would they would actually load the water into train cars. They had a train track that came there, and they would ship it off to be bottled. And then in the 1960s, it really formed into like an artist colony, and it was very focused on the arts and art galleries, and that became a big thing, kind of a hippie takeover of the city. And then 80s and 90s, it kind of went into like a biker phase for a long time, became a biker city, and now it's really focused on the adventure sports. So mountain biking, kayaking, waterboarding, zip lining, all that kind of stuff. So the city's shifted towards adventure now.
Yeah, cool. Well, let's get you funded, Brandon. This is a cool project. So,
well, dude, if anybody's listening, that
if someone wants
to
to get involved or reach out to you on this project, what would be the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah,
I'd love to see your pitch deck as well. So send that my way.
I will. Yeah, I have a PDF. I'll send it to you. My email is the easiest way to get a hold of me. So Brandon at Gore Design Co. Gore Design Co. Yeah.
We'll put that in the show note links. It's been great chatting with you, Brandon, looking at all the cool work. Love the craftsmen. We need more of that in this country, of people who actually care about their work. And I think there's such a natural transition from going from furniture and taking that level of artistry up to buildings. And this hotel I think will be phenomenal. Really do. And I think you're pinned in the right spots. Hopefully you get the right partner on this. And I look forward to seeing it come to life. It's going to
Awesome,
be, like
man.
you said, a legacy cool project. If we can help you in any way, let me know.
Well, thank you for having me.
You bet.
Awesome, man.
All right.